who really supported education and recognized the importance of education. The students that you're serving don't have that background. They might not have bookshelves full of books in their homes. And so that was a lot of the concern, was that parents, particularly in the Latinx, Latino population, a lot of times those you'd call new Americans have a more of a focus on that work, that very strong work ethic that's not quite as tied to education as maybe what you and I might have. So that was a lot of the parental engagement was, you know, especially even during COVID. And I did hear this more than once, you know, during this COVID period when students are supposed to be learning virtually, a lot of times they're not sitting at home doing their schoolwork. They're caring for siblings, or they are working and doing things to help the family financially. So I think a lot of that is helping, is ensuring that parents and families understand the investment of education and how that's going to pay off in the future. Does that sound like something that you would assume?
Yes, that helps clarify it. And it called to mind a remark that was made several years ago when one of the teachers, and it might have been Dennis Donnelly, said to the kids, you really want this education and you want to follow through with your education because you will want a job. And they burst out laughing and they said, my dad has 3 of them. Jobs. My dad has 3. He was fired from the car wash on Wednesdays, bagging groceries today. That's no big deal. And getting the point across that there is more. There is more, and their parents don't come from that, but we need to get them to that.
Exactly. And I think it's parents understanding the impact that this can have. So
yes.
And so how do you do that is one of the things that you guys are going to really be working on through this process, is how do we get parents, where is it that we want most of our parents to be, and how are we going to get there, and what can we do, and how do we measure whether or not we've done it? What other observations or questions?
Well, under the external, under strengths, repeat grantors, and then under weakness, reduction in grants. And that really is playing out this year. We have great relationships with our grantors. However, a lot of focus, as we probably are going to dig down into, is shifting in that regard. And we've been notified by more than one, this is our last year to receive funding. And when you've been receiving that funding for 10, 15 years, every year, and you get kind of putting it on the spreadsheet, oh, that's coming in. We know that's coming in. It's not coming in, it is shifting. So that really jumped out as that's something definitely that we're going to have to take a look at next year and beyond. We're very fortunate that we have strong community support from GKFF and Zero Foundation, but a lot of the smaller ones are shifting focus, and they see this is a positive, because it means we do have a great reputation and we've proven ourselves in the community as a viable educational option for kids. And so they think we're well grounded and well funded, and we're a strong entity. We're not a startup. So they pull the money back and go to something else that's more of a startup, whereas we're relying on that to do the good work that we're doing. So it's a double-edged sword there. So that's definitely something that jumped out at me and is really high on the list of how we're going to address that as we work through this process.
A couple of things under opportunities, identifying potential board members through partnerships. We talk at board meetings occasionally, keep your eye out for that, next board member, or make sure that you're thinking about, and I don't think it gets as far as the parking lot necessarily, but we do, it's difficult. And we do need to be looking out for that and looking at the board matrix. This is not casting aspersions on anybody, but we do need to open up our composition, our board composition in terms of age, gender, backgrounds, skill sets, all that stuff, ethnicity, all that kind of stuff. And so we need to get serious. We've talked about it for a long time, and we need to get more serious about it. Also, under opportunities, using staff resources effectively and efficiently. I'm amazed at what we can get done, and not to single anyone out, but Caroline has a gigantic plate that's filled to the brim, and to expect her to do more without us jumping onto that plate and saying, I'll take that piece, I'll take that piece, I'll take that piece. I think we need to start looking at that as well. We talked maybe, 16 months ago about possibly adding a part-time person to take some of the stuff, just school administrative stuff that Caroline does off her plate, so that she can spend more time with the development and such. And, it was a non-starter because we don't have it. We don't have the money. But we probably do have some good volunteer folks. We probably have some people on the board who could take this piece or that piece. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. But I think we use our resources effectively and efficiently. They're just stretched. So. Well, nobody's talking. Okay.
Thank you, Katie. That was a night. Thank you for that recognition. I appreciate that.
Well, and it's true. We are very grateful to you. We really are. Providing college and career services. Yes. Where we need to step up is with our alumni outreach to the kids that have graduated from San Miguel and are now in high school, because that's part of every Miguel school's mission, is to follow them through high school and help them out through those difficult years. And I think there's a pervasive, I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, I think there's a pervasive mindset out there in the community, and that a child enters San Miguel in 6th grade, several grade levels behind, challenging, circumstances in the home, all this kind of stuff. They go through 3 years at San Miguel, they graduate, and they're fixed. Ta-da, problem solved. But no, they go into high school with all the same problems that they started with. And we need to make sure that we are taking care of those kids moving into high school. And I don't know about college and career services. That may be beyond our reach, but we'll find out.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think those are excellent observations. And as we go through this whole exercise, this is the time and place to think about and talk about this. And the thing I want to, I know that as Katie and Caroline and other people talk, that it's like, okay, well, this is insurmountable. This is just going to be like 16 months ago where we said we need to do this. And then it just sort of like, fizzles out. What we're going to do, though, through this process this week is actually put some legs on this and say, because if you don't really measure it, then nothing really matters. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a timeline to this. We're going to say, here's what we're doing, and here's who's doing it. And we're going to commit to this. And then here's how we're going to track it. It's not going to be someday we're going to build relationships in this community. It's going to be by March, we're going to do these 5 things. So that's the level that we're going to take things. Katie, you and I are just going to let the silence hang until we get feedback. Okay. So anyone else who has feedback or questions, please jump in.
Under your programming, recruiting, I probably embarrass myself for this one, but create a recruiting plan. Are you talking about for students, for board members, for what?
That is more for students. Yeah.
Okay, and that raises another question. Is there something about our situation that says we need to focus on recruiting? I thought had no trouble filling the seats, but if we do, that's something. Are we looking for a different profile of student, or, and if so, what is it? I just, maybe not now, but whenever we get into this, I'd just like to know what we're recruiting and for what reason.
And Roger may be able to speak to this in terms of it, is there a waiting list? Are all of the seats filled, and where things stand on that?
Sure. Well, the seats are full in sixth grade. And actually, we took one more because we had so many more, and we felt like it was a good opportunity. So we have 25, 24 is our max. Since TPS dropped sixth grade, like what was it, 2 years ago, I think? Like the Kendall Whittier, which supplies us the most of our students, just because, again, we're a neighborhood school. Since they've dropped sixth grade, our numbers of applicants have gone way up. So, but necessarily doesn't mean that we'll graduate with those 24 or 25. So there might even be, along with this recruiting, almost maybe a retention idea that maybe we want to come up with. We lose students to they're very, they move a lot. We have some that go out of state, some go back to Mexico. Situations, maybe it's not a really good fit for them at San Miguel for whatever particular reason it may be. But that might be along the way, because we'll only graduate this year 18. Okay. But then again, you look at what we're trying to do. And if you don't come in sixth grade, we could fill seventh grade with extras and eighth grade, but you're not really getting the San Miguel experience that we really want the students to go through those 3 years, because that's part of our curriculum, part of what we try to do. Like when the students do come in behind, whatever the case may be, it's hard to catch them up if they come in eighth grade, 2 grades behind.
Yeah.
We're only going to have them a year. So that's something to look at as well. I think maybe some kind of retention plans that sometimes are just out of our hands. But and I think, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. How many kids do you have to turn away every year?
Well, it depends what year. Again, since they've dropped sixth grade, we could have taken another 5 easy. So, but it's not a huge number. And quite frankly, most of our students are related to another student. We've grown to where we have that the families that were involved in the beginning, those are the ones that are supplying. We're not having to advertise. We don't do anything. It's all word of mouth. And then they'll start calling, they'll start coming by. And it's really interesting because, when I was at Cassia, gosh, we had stuff everywhere, trying to find Tyler Frakes and guys like that. Well, I don't know if Tyler Frakes, anyway. But all those things are that we had to do to fill those seats. We really don't have to do that here, but at the same time, if there is some ideas on retention, of some of our students, because we would like that. And again, obviously it doesn't affect our budget, because again, you got to remember, all these other schools, they're paying tuition to reach your budget. Our students
would say that I would sort of push back a little bit on that, just kind of theoretically, because the number of kids that you retain and that you